Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. He was too afraid of offending a 9-leaf cultivator, but he could not offend the Taishu Academy and the Henku branch as well. In that case, the best course of action was to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. As to what would happen after this, he would leave it to their investigations. Shen Liangshou did not even dare to breathe loudly. He wiped the sweat off his face. That old man Lu. His aura seems even more powerful than old Senior Ji. Shen Liangshou. Here. Shen Liangshou raised his hand. He was at the top of the whitelist, and yet, he was living like a servant. He called the person behind him Hua Chongyang. Isn't he the leader of the Nether Sect's 4 great protectors? Huang Shiji asked in confusion. That's right. He has a profound cultivation base, but I don't know why he's here. Huang Shiji nodded. Since he's close to 9-leaf Lu, Penanglai won't let this opportunity pass us by. Don't you forget why we're here. Understood. Lu Zhou did not travel through air. Instead, he deliberately traveled on foot for the first leg of the journey to see how Miss Conk would react. Hua Chongyang followed behind him quietly. Lu Zhou stopped when they were inside a forest. He looked at Miss Conk's feet before he said, "Where's your house?" "I'll send you back." "House?" She shook her head. "She's homeless?" Lu Zhou studied her again. She was truly mysterious. Apart from being gifted in the tongue and tune of beats, she survived under such harsh conditions. Children from ordinary families would find it difficult to survive being homeless. After muttering to himself for a while, he said, "Then, I'll take you with me." Hua Chongyang called out, "Senior Lu. I have something to say, but I don't know if it's appropriate," Hua Chongyang said. "You've already hidden your identity, and I haven't cleared that debt with you yet," Lu Zhou said in a deep voice. Hua Chongyang jolted. Lu Zhou glanced at him. "Well, aren't I in disguise as well? What an awkward double standard." He shook his head. "This is not important. I'm Hua Chongyang, one of the Nether Sect's 4 great protectors and the first seat of Azure Dragon Hall," Hua Chongyang said. "The Nether Sect is currently the greatest fiend sect under the heavens. I'm sure you've heard of it, Senior Lu." Lu Zhou looked at Hua Chongyang and asked, "What's your point?" "Miss Conk is pure and naive. It's difficult for her to survive in the dangerous cultivation world. I can look after her. I'll treat her like my biological little sister," Hua Chongyang replied. "You? I don't dare compare myself against you, Senior Lu. You're a 9-leaf elite, after all." Hua Chongyang lowered his head. Cultivation base had nothing to do with looking after another person, after all. If a great 9-leaf elite with a family of his own brought a child back with him, how was the elite going to explain himself? If he was a lone cultivator, he would not have the time to raise a child as well. Was one thing. At this moment, before Lu Zhou could reply, Miss Conk said, "I won't go with you." "Hua Chongyang, why did you come for her?" Lu Zhou's gaze was stern. "I won't allow you to lie to me about this." Hua Chongyang's chest tightened from Lu Zhou's pressure. He had no choice but to honestly reply, "When the empire is ruled by an incompetent monarch, it's our duty to take him down. The Nether Sect is only acting as the situation calls for and has the support of the civilians and cultivators of the 9 provinces. However, we're having trouble conquering Jing province." "So, you plan to use this little girl?" Lu Zhou asked. Well, Lu Zhou was not wrong when he used the word use. It was the truth. Hua Chongyang appeared awkward. He looked at the young girl sheepishly. At this moment he recalled Lu Zhou was not a member of the Penglai sect. Lu Zhou had merely said that to fob him off. He mustered his courage and said, "I have a presumptuous request." If the Nether Sect can have your assistance, old senior, I'm sure we can easily take down Jing province. If they had the help of a 9-leaf elite, they would no longer need Miss Conk or the vicious beasts at all. After he had spoken, he no longer had the courage to look Lu Zhou in the eye. After a moment's silence, Lu Zhou said, I have no intentions of meddling in this trivial matter. However, I'm quite interested in the sect master of the Nether Sect. Hua Chongyang asked in shock, You've heard about my sect master, Senior Lu? A little. To tell you the truth, my sect master's master is also a 9-leaf elite like you. I wonder if you've heard of the evil sky pavilion that has taken the cultivation world by storm, Senior Lu? Hua Chongyang was invigorated. He immediately spoke about the evil sky pavilion. He was now convinced Lu Zhou was a lone elite. 9-leaf? The evil sky pavilion? Lu Zhou could not give himself away. After all, his objective was to meet Zhenghai and see what the rascal, Wuya, was up to. The evil sky pavilion master single-handedly defeated the 7 great sects not long ago. His blooming 9-leaf lotus is peerless. Hua Chongyang's tone was filled with respect. However, he realized he had spoken when he said the word peerless. He coughed lightly and corrected himself. Naturally, compared to you, Senior Lu, he's slightly lacking. After all, the pavilion master is getting old. Even if he's at the 9-leaf stage, there's still a limit to the addition to his life. You've got balls talking crap about me. How do you know his lifespan would remain the same after he's attained the 9-leaf stage? Lu Zhou asked. Even he did not dare to make such a claim. His actual cultivation base was still at the 1-leaf stage, after all. However, he had a feeling that the addition was surely more than 50 years once he broke through from the 8-leaf stage to the 9-leaf stage. You have a point, Senior Lu. I'm too uneducated, Hua Chongyang said. If Zhenghai has such a master, why didn't he ask for his help and flatten Jing province? Lu Zhou asked. Well, Hua Chongyang dared not speak of such matters lightly. This was his sect master, Zhenghai's personal matter. It was rarely brought up in the Nether Sect as well. Then, he said, perhaps, you can ask my sect master in person about this. Sure, Lu Zhou replied. They clicked easily. Then, he looked at Miss Conk and said, I'll take you with me. MHM. A surge of energy lifted the two of them. They rose into the air and flew toward Jing Province City. Hua Chongyang nodded silently. He thought that the 9-leaf elite lived up to his name. Stability was the best way forward. He followed them quietly. The 3 of them passed through the forest as they flew. Miss Conk seemed excited by this. It was as though she had not flown before or had not flown for a long time. She pointed below and said, beautiful. Then, she lifted her conch to her lips and softly blew into it. The deep hum resounded across the skies. It was clearly an ordinary sound but was sonorous and forceful as it reached the lands below. In the forest, the beasts ran wildly. The forest rumbled as clouds of dust rose between the trees. The birds who heard the sound flapped their wings and flocked together. Some of the vicious beasts that had begun cultivating moved at lightning speed. As the 3 of them flew, the birds and beasts followed them. Lu Zhou was not surprised to see this. He merely said, Conch. Oh. She passed the conch to Lu Zhou. Lu Zhou scrutinized it. It was not a weapon. It was just an ordinary conch. This was not a sound technique. Is it possible that the tune is also part of the beast's language? Lu Zhou returned the conch to her. Thank you. Surprisingly, Miss Conch thanked him. When the sound of the conch faded away, the beasts and birds stopped following them. Lu Zhou glanced at Miss Conch. It was mystifying to think that there was a person with such abilities. Hua Chongyang praised her. If this talent is used well, you'll be comparable to the brave master. Lu Zhou glanced at him and said, with these beasts alone? The beasts near human settlements were generally not very large. They would still be lacking if they were to compete with powerful human cultivators. Hua Chongyang considered this in his mind. The old senior was knowledgeable and experienced. It was only natural for him to know about many things. He was somehow convinced that Lu Zhou was trying to find out about his sect master's strength. He mulled over it for a moment before he said, naturally, these beasts are too insignificant to mention. Many beasts are merely slightly more powerful than mortals. The minority that is powerful are only in the mystic enlightening or sense-condensing realms. They can't be compared to human cultivators. However, the beasts from the 4 great forests are enough to strike fear in the hearts of the masses. When he saw Lu Zhou keeping quiet, he continued to say, not only did the Henku branch and Taishu Academy covet the little girl's talents, they saw the huge benefits they could gain from her as well. If they were to groom the little girl well and catch some mounts, I'm sure they'll become the greatest sects in Great Yen within 100 years. Lu Zhou had never thought about it from this angle. The little girl could subdue vicious beasts. Naturally, it was suited to taming wild beasts. Who knows how many powerful beasts there were within the 4 great forests. Even an 8-leaf elite like Pan Litian had been lost inside the forest previously and nearly lost his life. He recalled his mounts, Witzard and Bayan. They were not from the 4 great forests and could not be compared. After flying for some time, Lu Zhou, Miss Conk, and Hua Chongyang finally arrived at Jing Province City. Lu Zhou glanced at Miss Conk's clothes and brought her to the tailor to have a set of garments made. Then, he employed someone to give her a wash. If the soil and her old clothes could not even obscure her otherworldly elegance, after a change of clothes, Miss Conk seemed like a fairy. Although her hair was coiled into a bun, she still seemed playful and cute. Her long dress that was girdled at the waist made her seem stately. Hua Chongyang clicked his tongue in wonder. It's difficult to imagine her being a homeless child. What kind of parents would be so cold-hearted as to abandon such a naive, pure, beautiful, and elegant daughter? Miss Conk seemed to like her new clothes well enough. When she emerged from the fitting room, she pirouetted like a graceful dancer. She relished in her new appearance, a joyful smile could be seen on her face. Do you like it? Lu Zhou asked. I do. Conk looked up and smiled. You're nice. Good. That was all? The little girl was not only naive, but she was oblivious to the workings of the world. She resembled little Yuan in this aspect. However, the other party would usually be on the losing end when dealing with little Yuan. On the other hand, Miss Conk seemed like the type to be at a disadvantage. Her being almost sacrificed at the heaven worship platform was the best proof of this. At this moment, Hua Chongyang bowed and said, Senior Lu, it's getting late. There's a curfew in Jing Province City at night. Curfew was a form of strict control over the entry and exit of a city. The citizens would not be allowed to venture outdoors at night, let alone out of the city. Lu Zhou did not seem to care as he said, there's no need to rush. He looked at Miss Conk and asked, are you hungry? Miss Conk rubbed her stomach and nodded. Hua Chongyang had no choice but to follow the two of them to the inn. Sumptuous dishes were ordered and placed on the table, around which the 3 of them sat. Lu Zhou and Hua Chongyang did not have much of an appetite. They only stared at Miss Conk as she ate. She was not a fast eater. She ate in small mouthfuls without gobbling down her food. She did not have the speed of a chick pecking for grain. She resembled more of a rabbit. Based on this, it seemed like she was not the child of an ordinary family. Where's your house? Lu Zhou asked again. She pointed east and said, far, far away. Do you remember where it is? Hua Chongyang's interest was piqued. Miss Conk shook her head. What is your hometown like? Hua Chongyang wanted to try and guess the place based on geographical landmarks. Conk shook her head again, I don't remember. Lu Zhou felt suspicious. Did she lose her memories? His curiosity was piqued. He said, give me your hand. Oh. Miss Conk obediently placed her hand in front of Lu Zhou. Lu Zhou placed 2 fingers on her wrist. His primal chi trickled into her extraordinary 8 meridians. After a moment, he was even more confused. She was not injured, nor did she hit her head. Her mind seemed to be in tip-top condition as well. Her Dantian sea of chi was in its primordial state, indicating she had never cultivated. In other words, she was an ordinary healthy mortal. So why did it seem like she had lost her memories? What puzzled him even most was her ability to command wild beasts and her ability to evade the prying eye of truth. Would a mortal be like this? There were too many suspicious things about her, so he paid attention to her every move. She seemed polite enough. She did not have the finicky air of a child, but she did not show the maturity and composure of an adult. It was difficult to find adjectives to accurately describe her. Senior, the sun is setting. We should get going, Hua Chongyang said urgently. Are you full? Lu Zhou looked at Miss Conk. MHM. Thank you. Miss Conk nodded. Let's go, then. Then, the three of them left the inn. Meanwhile, in one of the certain Nether Sect's branches, Zhenghai was pacing up and down. Si Wuya looked at him nonchalantly and said, eldest senior brother, there's no need to worry. Hua Chongyang's performance has always been consistent. Zhenghai stopped pacing and said, we can't be sure. I'm worried about what we would do if he fails. We'll think of something else, then. You have another wonderful plan, wise brother? Zhenghai asked. I won't call it wonderful, Si Wuya said, I've gone through the recent records of the Nether Sect. When did you get acquainted with the sect master of the Penglai sect, eldest senior brother? Zhenghai laughed. He said, it's a long story. When I mastered my great dark heaven memorial, I was in need of opponents. I initially intended to test my skills against second junior brother, but I couldn't find him. Hence, I had no choice but to travel to Penglai Island. I defeated him with 3 strikes of my saber. Basically, we got acquainted through a fight. Then, he asked, why are you asking, wise brother? If we have the help of the master of Penglai Island, we can easily take Jing Province City, Si Wuya said. Zhenghai's eyes brightened, enlightened. You have a point. At this moment, a subordinate walked in. He bowed and said, Sect Master, the master of Penglai Island is here. Si Wuya stood up. His eyes were sparkling as he said, eldest senior brother, you're in luck. Zhenghai said, bring him in. When the flying chariot landed outside the branch, Zhenghai walked up to it. Si Wuya followed closely behind him. A voice rang from the flying chariot. It's been a long time. Brother Shiji, good to see you again. At this moment, a figure in brocade robes shot out of the flying chariot, guns blazing, at lightning speed. The target of the attack was Zhenghai. The palms of the figure glowed in the dark.